Deep in the Central American rainforest, we start with a group of tribesmen hunting a wild boar. They aren't exactly elite assassins. They basically just bully the pig into a trap. Their leader is a guy named Jaguar Paw, who apparently skipped the class on how to not look suspicious in the woods. He starts handing out the meat, but the group decides to engage in some classic locker room bullying. They trick a guy named Blunted into eating the fertility parts of the boar. He falls for it, eats it, and immediately regrets every life choice that led to that moment. Jaguar Paw's dad, Flint Sky, decides to double down on the prank. He gives Blunted some special leaves for his bedroom issues. Pro tip: if someone gives you mystery forest leaves and tells you to rub them on yourself, maybe ask a follow-up question. Blunted doesn't, and we'll see how that fiery mistake burns him later. Suddenly, the vibe shifts from Mean Girls, Jungle Edition to a horror movie. They run into another tribe that looks like they've seen a ghost, or at least a very aggressive property developer. They're refugees. Jaguar Paw wants to ask questions, but Flint Sky hits him with the don't worry about it dad energy. Flint claims fear is a sickness, which is a great sentiment right up until someone is trying to wear your skin as a poncho. Back at the village, the leaf prank finally reaches its climax. Blunted and his wife sprint out of their hut screaming because, shocker, the fertility leaves are essentially nature's habanero. The whole village laughs, completely ignoring the fact that there are literal war-torn refugees lurking just a few miles away. Total focus on the priorities, guys. That night, Jaguar Paw has a premonition. He sees a guy holding a beating heart, which is usually a sign to pack your bags and leave. But no, he stays in bed. The next morning, a dog starts barking. The universal cinematic signal for, you're about to be invaded. By the time Jaguar Paw realizes the shadows in the trees aren't just weird squirrels, the raiders are already in the kitchen. The village turns into a chaotic mess. It's a classic raiders versus villagers scenario, where the villagers are severely undergeared. Jaguar Paw manages to smuggle his very pregnant wife and son into a deep, empty well. He tells them he'll be right back, which is the biggest lie in movie history. He kills one raider with his bare hands, impressive honestly, and runs back into the village to play hero. Spoiler alert, being a hero gets you captured. He tries to save his dad, but they both get snagged. A particularly charming fellow named Middle Eye, who clearly has a most likely to commit a war crime vibe, decides to kill Flint Sky right in front of Jaguar Paw, just for the spite of it. The village is now a pile of ashes, and the raiders are feeling efficient. They tie the men to bamboo poles like they're about to be roasted. Jaguar Paw looks at the well and sees it's still hidden, but then a raider, who must have been an Eagle Scout, notices a rope. He doesn't look down, but he does drop a massive rock into it and cuts the rope. Congratulations, Jaguar Paw. Your family is now trapped in a hole with a wounded kid and a falling rock. Great plan. The raiders start the long walk of sadness toward the Maya city. Their leader, Zero Wolf, tells everyone to stop killing people because the king needs fresh bodies for reasons. We see the refugees from earlier are also in the chain gang. It's like a really depressing class reunion. Meanwhile, back in the Well of Despair, Jaguar Paw's wife is using biting ants as living stitches for their son's wound. It's gross, it's metal, and it's way more medical knowledge than anyone else in this script has shown so far. As they trek across a narrow cliff, a wounded guy slips and almost drags the whole human centipede off the edge. Jaguar Paw does some Olympic-level rock climbing to save them. Does he get a thank you? No. Middle Eye just cuts the rope and sends the wounded guy into the ravine anyway, because he's a jerk like that. Zero Wolf yells at him, but mostly because he's losing inventory, not because he cares about the guy's feelings. Night falls, and Zero Wolf promotes his son to a full warrior. In the captive section, Blunted is whispering about taking someone down with him. Jaguar Paw, on the other hand, is just praying it doesn't rain. Because if it rains, his family becomes a collection of human soup at the bottom of that well. The next morning, the group passes through a village that looks like it was hit by a plague-themed interior designer. A little girl, covered in sores and clearly not having a great day, crawls toward them. Instead of offering a snack, The warriors poke her with a stick. Bad move. She goes full possessed child and delivers a prophecy about a man who carries the spirit of a jaguar and will be reborn from the mud. The raiders get that awkward, maybe we should have stayed home look on their faces, but they keep walking anyway. Finally, they reach the outskirts of the Maya city. For jungle guys like Jaguar Paw, this is basically like walking into Times Square while being hunted by the police. The first thing they see is a field of slaves grinding lime into white dust. It's a literal grey wasteland where everyone is coughing their lungs out. It turns out the mighty Maya Empire is actually struggling with a massive drought and failing crops. But instead of investing in irrigation, they've decided the solution is more human hearts. As they move through the inner streets, the script treats us to a tour of a society that is falling apart at the seams. You've got starving beggars, wealthy nobles wearing enough jade to sink a boat, and merchants selling everything from corn to human beings. The women are separated and sold into slavery, though Jaguar Paw's mother-in-law is spared because apparently the Maya slave market has very strict age discrimination policies. The men are painted blue, the universal colour for about to have a very bad time, and march toward a massive stone pyramid. The locals are gathered at the bottom like it's a championship football game, cheering while severed heads tumble down the stairs. It's a very high-stakes version of Slinky. At the top, a priest is busy being the ultimate buzzkill, executing people to appease Kukulkan, the sun god. Jaguar Paw's friend goes first. Then it's Paw's turn. He's laid out on the stone, looking up at the sun, probably wondering why he didn't just move the family to a different forest. But just as the priest raises the knife, the main character energy kicks in. A solar eclipse begins. The sky goes dark, the crowd panics, and the king and high priest share a look that says, "We totally planned this." The high priest, being a master of PR, tells the crowd that the god is satisfied, and if the sun comes back, everyone is off the hook. The sun returns, the crowd goes wild, and for a second, it looks like Jaguar Paw might actually get a gift bag and a ride home. Psick. Zero Wolf, who clearly isn't a fan of divine intervention, decides they still need to get rid of the surplus captives. He takes them to the hunting grounds, which is basically a giant field of death. The rules are simple. The captives run for the forest, and the warriors use them for target practice. If you make it to the end, Zero Wolf's son is waiting there to finish the job. It's essentially the worst gym class ever. The first two guys, including our friend Blunted, get turned into pincushions almost immediately. Then it's Jaguar Paw's turn. He zigzags through the field like he's trying to break a world record. He gets hit by an arrow, but he doesn't stop. As he nears the finish line, Zero Wolf's son steps up to deliver the final blow, but Blunted, with his final bit of strength, grabs the kid's leg. Jaguar Paw doesn't miss the opportunity. He snaps the arrow lodged in his own side and stabs the kid in the neck with it. The silence that follows is deafening. Jaguar Paw just killed the boss's son. Zero Wolf goes from professional soldier to grieving murderous father in 2 seconds flat. Jaguar Paw staggers into the jungle, arrow still in his flesh, finally realizing that the jaguar the creepy girl was talking about might actually be him. The chase is officially on. Jaguar Paw is now sprinting through the trees with a hole in his side, proving that adrenaline is a hell of a drug. He climbs a high tree to catch his breath, and for a second, it looks like he's safe. But then a single drop of blood falls onto a warrior's shoulder. Seriously, Paw, keep your fluids to yourself. Just as the raiders spot him, nature decides to throw a curveball. The tree Paw chose belongs to a mother jaguar who is definitely not in the mood for guests. The warriors kill the cat, but not before it takes one of them out. The men start whispering about the prophecy again, but Zero Wolf tells them to shut up and keep running. He's clearly over the whole destiny thing and just wants a revenge trophy. By morning, the pursuit has become a comedy of errors for the raiders. One guy gets bitten by a snake, because apparently the forest is tired of their nonsense too. They eventually corner Paw at the edge of a massive waterfall. With nowhere to go, Jaguar Paw looks back, basically says, "Watch this," and yeets himself off the cliff. He survives the fall, pops his head out of the water and shouts back at them that this is his forest and they're all basically trespassing on his lawn. Zero Wolf is so tilted at this point that when one of his men suggests taking the long way around the falls, he just kills the guy. Leading by fear, classic management style. The rest of the team jumps after Paw, but one guy hits a rock and turns into a cautionary tale. Meanwhile, Paw hits a patch of thick mud. He's sinking, he's struggling, and then he rises out of the muck completely covered in black sludge. He looks less like a man and more like a nightmare. The prophecy is officially 100% fulfilled. Now that he's reached final boss mode, he starts setting traps. He grabs a hive of angry bees and lobs it at the raiders like a biological grenade. While they're busy getting stung, Paw is already 3 steps ahead. Back at the well, things are getting literal. The rain is falling and the hole is filling up with water. His wife is trying to climb out, but she's also currently in labour. Talk about bad timing. In the woods, Paw finds a poisoned dart frog, the forbidden gummy of the rainforest, and coats his spikes in its venom. He creates a fake trail, hides in the bushes, and starts picking off the raiders like a slasher movie villain. He finally lures Middle Eye into a showdown. Middle Eye gets a nice cut on Paw's forehead, but Paw isn't playing around anymore. He grabs a weapon and finally sends Middle Eye to the afterlife. Father, avenged. Ego, satisfied. But the clock is ticking. The well is turning into a swimming pool. Paw gets shot by Zero Wolf but doesn't even slow down. Zero Wolf charges in for the kill, but he's so blinded by rage, he forgets to look down and steps right into the boar trap from the beginning of the movie. Poetic justice, really. The final 2 hunters chase Paw all the way to the beach, but everyone stops dead in their tracks. Why? Because the Spanish have arrived. Huge ships are sitting in the mist like alien spacecraft. The hunters are so confused by the men on floating houses that they forget they were trying to kill Paw. Paw uses the distraction to slip back to the well. He arrives just in time to pull his wife and their brand new baby out of the water. His wife asks if they should go talk to the guys on the ships, who, let's be honest, look like they have better technology. But Paw is a forest guy through and through. He looks at the colonizers, says hard pass, and leads his family back into the deep jungle. And that's the story of the one guy who escaped a ritual, survived a target range, and dodged an entire empire just to end up right back where he started. Thanks for sticking around for this recap. If you enjoyed watching Jaguar Paw turn into a jungle ninja, hit that like button. See you in the next one.